I discovered my fiance's shocking gold digger plot to marry, divorce, and rob me blind, but my secret prenup trap destroyed her. I'm Cade, 30, male. Working as a software developer for a healthcare company. It's nothing super fancy, but I make good money, enough to buy a house a couple of years ago. Well, the bank owns most of it, but you know how it goes. About 3 years back, I met this girl, Laura, at my buddy Chris's housewarming party. She was seriously hot, like that perfect combo of sexy but also put together, you know? She worked in PR for some marketing firm downtown, or at least that's what she told me. We got talking about random stuff and totally hit it off. After exchanging numbers, we went on a few dates, and things got serious pretty quickly. Laura was always telling me how she'd never met anyone like me before, how amazing I was, how we were going to build this perfect life together. Looking back now, her compliments were always kind of excessive, but at the time it felt really good to hear that stuff. I introduced her to my friends and family after about 3 months. Everyone seemed to like her, though my sister, Amy, said something once like, "She is very focused on your career," which I didn't think much about at the time. The first warning sign should have been meeting her mom, Diane. This woman was intense as hell. Within like 20 minutes of meeting me, she was already asking about my salary. If my company had good benefits, if I was planning to get promoted soon. I just figured she was being protective of her daughter, making sure I could provide or whatever. Laura moved in with me after about 8 months. Things were good for the most part. We traveled a bit, hung out with friends, normal couple stuff. But looking back, there were weird moments I should have paid attention to, like how she'd always talk about her friend Jessica, who'd just gotten married to this investment banker dude. Laura would say things like, "Jessica doesn't even have to work anymore if she doesn't want to," with this weird gleam in her eye. Or how she'd point out houses in fancy neighborhoods and be like, "We'll live somewhere like that someday, right?" About a year and a half in, Laura introduced me to her friends. I'll call them Brittany and Megan. Brittany was loud and kind of annoying, always talking about the expensive love her boyfriend bought her. Megan seemed more normal and down to earth. By year 3 I was thinking, this is it. This is the woman I'm going to marry. So, I planned this big proposal. Got down on one knee at this fancy restaurant, had roses brought out, the whole cheesy thing. Laura cried, said yes, and everyone around us clapped. I felt on top of the world. We set the date for 6 months later and started planning. That's when some weird stuff started happening. First thing I noticed was Laura's mom, Diane, suddenly became super involved in our lives. She'd come over like 3 times a week to help with wedding planning, but really, she just drilled me about my finances. "Have you been contributing to your 401k, Cade? What's the equity in your house now, Cade? Do you get annual bonuses, Cade?" It was annoying, but I figured she was just making sure her daughter would be taken care of. Then Laura started acting different. When we first got together, she was all about saving money, always looking for deals, clipping coupons, all that. But once we got engaged, she suddenly wanted the most expensive everything. For the wedding, top shelf open bar, fancy venue, designer dress. When I'd bring up the cost, she'd say stuff like, "You only get married once, babe," with this weird little smile. The girls' nights with Brittany and Megan went from once a month to every damn week. Laura would come home late, smelling like expensive wine and acting super affectionate, like way more than usual, almost like she was overcompensating. One night, I brought them some food they'd ordered, and overheard Laura saying, "Just 1 more month of this and then," before they all went quiet when they saw me. Brittany gave me this weird smile and said, "Just wedding jitters talk," and they all laughed in this really fake way. I didn't really care, I thought it was just girls being girls. Then there was the bank account thing. Laura brought it up casually at first, saying we should merge our finances to make wedding planning easier. I hesitated, not because I was completely against it, but because it felt a little rushed. She looked at me, her expression shifting. "So you don't trust me?" Her voice had this edge to it, like she was genuinely hurt. "It's not that," I said carefully. "I just figured we'd do that after the wedding." For a second she just stared at me, and I could tell she wasn't expecting me to push back. Then, just as quickly as she got upset, she waved it off with a little laugh. "No big deal, we can wait." Her tone was light, almost too light. The switch felt too smooth, too rehearsed. I couldn't shake the feeling that my hesitation caught her off guard in a way she didn't like. But then there was this day where I came home early from work and found Laura and her mom at our kitchen table with a bunch of papers spread out. They shoved everything into a folder when they saw me. Later, I realized they'd been going through my financial statements that had come in the mail. When I casually mentioned it, Laura claimed they were just organizing the office and happened to see them. About 2 months before the wedding, I started feeling really uneasy. Nothing I could really put my finger on, just a bunch of little things adding up. But I kept telling myself I was being paranoid. Pre-wedding jitters, cold feet, whatever. I loved Laura, and she loved me. That's what mattered. Then everything started to shatter slowly. I was working late one night in my home office when Laura was upstairs. Her phone was on the kitchen counter and lit up with a text from Brittany. Normally, I'm not the snooping type, but the preview caught my eye. Did he agree to merge the accounts yet? Tick-tock, girl. Something about it just seemed off. Laura had been pushing the joint accounts thing pretty hard lately. I probably shouldn't have done it, but I picked up her phone. Laura always used the same password for everything. Her birth year, not very secure for someone dating a tech guy. What I found wasn't a smoking gun, but it definitely raised some red flags. A few texts between her and Brittany. Brittany, your mom is a genius with this stuff. She literally wrote the playbook. Laura, I know, just following the steps. 1 month to go. Brittany, then freedom and 4,000. Laura, exactly, can't wait to never have to pretend again. I put the phone down, feeling like someone had punched me in the face. Pretend? Pretend what? I told myself, maybe they were talking about pretending to care about wedding planning or something, but deep down, I knew that wasn't it. The next day, I decided to pay closer attention. Laura seemed normal at breakfast, kissed me goodbye, told me she loved me, all the usual stuff, but it felt rehearsed, like she was going through the motions. That afternoon, Laura went to the gym for her usual workout. She left her laptop open on the couch, and that was my chance. After those texts, I needed to know what was going on. Her email was still open, and there was one from her mom with the subject line "The Plan, Month 4. I clicked it. Honey, you're in the home stretch now. Remember, be extra attentive these last few weeks. Make him feel secure. The prenup conversation might come up. If it does, act offended at first, then give in only if he offers you some kind of settlement clause. Brittany's cousin got $50,000 that way, even though the main prenup was solid. Men are so easy when they think with their hearts. Love you, so proud of you. Holy love. I stared at the screen for like 10 minutes, trying to process what I was reading. This couldn't be real, right? My brain was trying to come up with innocent explanations, but nothing fit. I closed the laptop exactly how I'd found it and went for a drive to clear my head. Maybe I was misinterpreting things. Maybe the plan was something completely different than what it seemed. When I got back from my drive that night, Laura was waiting for me with this weird smile on her face. She had made dinner, which was rare. She usually suggested takeout. Hey babe, I've been thinking about what we talked about last week, she said, sliding up next to me on the couch. You know, about our finances. I tensed up but tried to keep my face neutral. What about them? Well, she said, tracing her finger along my arm in that way she did when she wanted. Something, I really think we should combine our accounts before the wedding. It would make everything so much easier. I studied her face, looking for any sign of the Laura I thought I knew. Okay, what's really going on here? Why is this so important to you all of a sudden? She laughed, but it sounded forced. Nothing's going on. I just think married people should share everything. My mom says separate finances are the first step to a failed marriage. Of course her mom said that. I was about to push harder when Laura's phone buzzed. She grabbed it quickly, angling the screen away from me as she read the message. Her face changed for just a second, a flash of something calculating, before she put on her sweet smile again. Just Brittany confirming brunch this weekend, she said, but something told me that wasn't all it was. But the next weekend, I got the final confirmation I needed. Laura went for brunch with Brittany and Megan, and accidentally left her iPad at home. The thing kept lighting up with notifications from their group chat. I grabbed it and opened their messages. It was all there in black and white. Brittany, just 1 more month of this charade, and then you're set for life. Laura, God, I can't wait. Playing the perfect girlfriend for 3 years has been exhausting. Megan, you sure this is going to work? What if he fights the divorce? Laura, Mom says the first month of marriage is key. Be sweet, be loving, then start picking fights around week 3. By week 4, suggest a break, and then divorce. He'll be so blindsided, he won't know what hit him. Brittany, and then you get half of everything. House, savings, even his future income. Laura, half of his income for years. Mom did this with her second husband and lived like a queen for a decade. Megan, what if he makes you sign a prenup? Laura, Cade? LMAO, he's too trusting, he'd never. But if he does, Mom knows how to get around those too. She's done this twice before. My stomach dropped through the floor. 3 years, 3 love years of my life with someone who was just waiting to cash in. I'd been nothing but a mark to her this whole time, a sucker, a goddamn ATM with a heartbeat. And her mom was behind it all, teaching her daughter to do this. What kind of love-up family dynamic is that? I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to myself, then put the iPad back where I found it. When Laura came home, she was extra affectionate, bringing me my favorite takeout and suggesting we watch my favorite movie. I played along, but inside, I felt dead. Every touch, every I love you now felt like a knife twisting in my gut. That night, while she slept, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. I should have been devastated. I should have been heartbroken. But instead, I was just angry. And as the shock started to wear off, that anger crystallized into something else, determination. Laura wasn't getting a damn thing from me. In fact, she was about to learn why you don't mess with a guy who solves problems for a living. The next morning, I called in sick, locked down my accounts and called Jake, who sent me to a lawyer who specialized in cases like mine. Driving over, I replayed Laura's messages, temporary husband. Easiest money I've ever made. She was right. I'd been too trusting. Laying out the 3-year con for the lawyer, I expected shock, but he just nodded. He already had a plan, one that gave Laura exactly what she wanted while ensuring she got nothing. For the first time in days, I felt something close to hope. The lawyer proposed a prenup designed to look standard, but packed with hidden clauses that would leave Laura with nothing if she played her game. If she filed for divorce, she'd get zero. Zilch nada. If we proved she planned to bail from the start, she'd owe me a settlement. Everything I owned before and during the marriage stayed mine, and if she challenged it, she'd cover all legal fees. The catch? She'd never sign if she knew the truth, so we had to make her believe it was just a formality. I agreed. Laura might be playing me, but she wasn't stupid. I waited until we were having dinner that night, trying to find the right moment to bring it up. Laura was in a good mood. She'd just ordered some expensive wedding decorations using my credit card. So, I said, casually pushing my food around on my plate, I was talking to Jake today. Laura looked up. Oh, how's he doing with the divorce? That's actually what we talked about. He suggested that maybe we should get a simple prenup, just for peace of mind. Laura's fork clattered against her plate. A prenup? Her eyes immediately went wide, and within seconds they were filling with tears. You don't trust me? I had to admire her performance. The way her voice cracked on the word trust was Oscar-worthy. Of course I trust you, baby, I said, reaching across the table for her hand. It's just a piece of paper. My lawyer says everyone does it now. It's a standard thing couples do, like getting insurance. It's not like it would ever be used. Laura pulled her hand away and crossed her arms. I can't believe you'd even suggest this. I thought we were a team. We are a team. This doesn't change anything between us. She was quiet for a long minute. I could almost see the wheels turning in her head. Under the table, I noticed she was texting someone, probably her mom, asking for emergency advice on how to handle this curveball. I need to think about this, she finally said, getting up from the table. I'm going to take a bath. Take all the time you need, I said, watching her walk away, phone clutched tightly in her hand. The next day, I made sure to act extra affectionate. Brought her coffee, in bed, told her how beautiful she looked, the whole 9 yards. Around lunchtime, I staged a phone call that I made sure she could overhear from the kitchen. Yeah, the prenup is just basic stuff. Everyone does it, dude. Are you kidding? I'd never use it against Laura. It's actually more to protect her, if anything. You know what? I even told my lawyer to add in something nice for her, like a guaranteed cash settlement. I mean, the whole thing is just paperwork nobody will ever look at again. Anyway, she's getting the house if anything happens. I already decided that. And just like that, later that night, she brought it up herself. You know what? You're right. We should do that prenup thing, just to be safe for both of us. I played dumb. Really? You don't mind? She gave me that fake smile I now saw right through. Of course not. I'm not marrying you for your money, Cade. I'm marrying you because I love you. The lie actually made me laugh, but I covered it with a cough. Great. I'll have my lawyer add a small clause for you too. Maybe something that guarantees you a little settlement no matter what. Would that make you feel better? Her eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas morning. You'd do that for me? That's so sweet. What she didn't know was that her protection clause was written to sound significant while being legally meaningless. The lawyer had used language that seemed to promise her a settlement, but actually contained conditions that would never be met. When she came to the law office to sign it, she barely even read the damn thing, just flipped through, saw her clause was there, and signed every page with this smug little smile. The whole time I kept my face neutral, but inside, I was thinking, game on, Laura. That night, she called her mom from the bathroom, thinking I couldn't hear. It's all set, Mom. He even added a settlement clause for me. What a sucker. I just smiled to myself. You have no idea who the real sucker is, sweetheart. With the prenup signed, I started quietly preparing. First, I moved most of my money into accounts she didn't know about, not hiding it legally. Everything was declared in the prenup, but making sure she couldn't access it. I transferred the house into a trust. I documented every conversation, backed up every text where she and her friends discussed their plan. Meanwhile, she got sloppy. She started spending my money like crazy on wedding stuff. Premium everything, top-shelf booze, designer dress. When I winced at the costs, she'd say things like, "Don't worry, babe, it's an investment in our future." Yeah, her future cash-out attempt. Her mom, Diane, was even worse. She'd come over and start talking about how they should redecorate our house after the wedding. Let's knock down this wall, put in new floors, like she was already spending my equity. The month before the wedding, Laura barely bothered to pretend anymore, always on her phone, ignoring me unless we were in public. One night, I caught her browsing Bali vacation rentals. When I asked, she just said, "For after, right?" Probably her post-divorce celebration. It was surreal going through the motions, while knowing my fiancé was basically a scammer. 2 weeks out, at our final catering meeting, Laura and her mom went wild, ordering extra everything. When I mentioned the cost, Diane patted my hand and said, "You can't put a price on happiness." Funny. Laura had half my net worth in mind. I just smiled and stuck to the plan. That night, I heard Laura on the phone with Brittany. Just 2 more weeks of playing the loving fiancé, and then I'm home free. God, I can't wait to be done with this. I went to bed early that night, not trusting myself to keep my cool. As I lay there, listening to Laura laugh about me in the next room, I reminded myself that soon, very soon, she'd be the one getting played. In a weird way, I was almost looking forward to our wedding day, but for completely different reasons than I'd originally planned. The big day finally arrived. I woke up in the hotel room where I'd stayed the night before. Laura insisted on that whole can't see the bride tradition, and stared at the ceiling for a while. It was the day I got married to a woman who was planning to rob me blind. If someone had told me this would be my life a few months ago, I'd have thought they were insane. I got dressed in my tux and went through the motions. My best man, Tyler, kept asking if I was nervous. If he only knew. I wasn't nervous. I was love-furious. But I kept it together, smiled for photos, pretended everything was perfect. The ceremony was at this ridiculously expensive venue that Laura and her mom had picked out. String quartet, fancy flower arrangements, the works. I'd seen the bills. They'd gone with every premium option available, knowing I was footing the bill. When the music started and everyone stood up, I watched Laura walk down the aisle in her designer dress. She looked beautiful. I can't deny that. And to everyone watching, she probably looked like a woman in love. But all I could see was the predator behind the smile. The officiant started talking about love and commitment and honesty. And it took everything I had not to laugh out loud at the irony. Laura squeezed my hand during the vows, giving me these fake emotional looks. When she said, "I do," I knew she was really saying, "I do want half your stuff." And when I said it back, I was thinking, "I do want to see your face when you realize your plan failed." After the ceremony, we took more photos. Laura kept whispering, "I love you," and we made it in my ear. Each time was like a knife twist, but I played along, told her she was beautiful, kissed her for the camera. I caught snippets of conversations between Laura, Brittany, and Diane throughout the night. They thought they were being subtle, but I was watching like a hawk. "Brittany, you did it. Now the real fun begins." Laura, "Just 4 more weeks of playing house, and then freedom." Diane, "I'm so proud of you, honey. You landed a big one." At one point, I was getting a drink at the bar when Megan approached me. She seemed uncomfortable. "Congratulations, Cade," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Thanks, Megan. Enjoying the party?" She glanced over at Laura and Brittany, who were taking selfies. "Yeah, it's great. You really love her, don't you?" I looked her dead in the eyes. "About as much as she loves me." Megan's face went pale, and she quickly walked away. I think she knew that I knew. She was the only one of Laura's friends who ever seemed to have a conscience about the whole thing. After the reception, we went to a fancy hotel suite, another expense Laura had insisted on. We were flying out for our honeymoon the next day, 2 weeks at a 5-star resort in the Maldives that cost more than my first car. The honeymoon was surreal. Laura spent money like water: spa treatments, private dinners on the beach, at the resort boutiques. She kept taking photos for Instagram. Meanwhile, she was barely present when we were alone in our room, always on her phone, texting Brittany or her mom. I overheard her on the phone one night. "No, Mom, he doesn't suspect a thing. He's talking about buying a bigger house next year. Can you believe it? This is going better than we planned." I drank a lot on that trip. It was the only way I could stand to be around her without losing my love. Every "I love you" from her was another lie. Every kiss was fake. I kept reminding myself it would be worth it when she realized she'd been outsmarted. When we got home, Laura suggested we look into upgrading to a bigger house in a fancier neighborhood. "Now that we're married, we should think about our future," she said, already mentally spending her divorce settlement. I agreed enthusiastically. "Great idea, babe. Let's look at our finances and see what we can afford." She practically sprinted to get her laptop. I watched her face as she started researching the most expensive neighborhoods in our city. She had no idea I was documenting every bit of it as evidence for later. For the next couple of weeks, I kept waiting for her to start the next phase of her plan. According to her texts with Brittany, she was supposed to start picking fights around week 3, then suggest a break by week 4. Like clockwork, on day 17 of our marriage, she picked her first fight. It was over something stupid. I left a towel on the bathroom floor, but she blew it completely out of proportion. "I can't believe how inconsiderate you are. This is what I have to look forward to for the rest of my life?" I apologized calmly, which seemed to frustrate her even more. She was trying to make me the bad guy, but I wouldn't take the bait. The next few days, she found something new to fight about every day. I loaded the dishwasher wrong. I worked too late. I didn't compliment her new haircut fast enough. Each time I stayed calm and reasonable, which only made her more agitated. By week 4, I could tell she was getting impatient. This wasn't going according to her script. I was supposed to be fighting back, giving her ammunition. Instead, I was being the perfect husband, making her look like the unreasonable one. Finally, she made her move. We were having dinner one night, when she put down her fork and said, "Cade, we need to talk." Here we go, I thought. Finally, showtime. "Of course, babe. What's up?" I said, trying to look concerned. Laura sighed dramatically. "I just feel like maybe we rushed into this. Maybe we're not as compatible as we thought." I frowned. "What do you mean? I thought things were going great." "I love you, I really do," she lied, reaching for my hand. "But I think maybe we need some space. A break, you know? Maybe it would be best if we go our separate ways while things are still good." I stared at my plate for a long moment, then looked up. "You're saying you want a divorce? After 1 month?" She nodded slowly, the fake sadness not quite reaching her eyes. "I think it's for the best." I took a deep breath, like I was trying to process this devastating news. "If that's what you want, I guess we should talk to a lawyer." Laura tried to hide her excitement, but I caught the flash of triumph in her eyes. "I think that would be best. We can go tomorrow." "Sure," I said. "I'll call my guy in the morning." That night, Laura was on the phone with her mom and Brittany for hours, no doubt celebrating her imminent payday. I could hear snippets. It was so easy. He didn't suspect anything. "Of course, I'll help you with yours next." The next morning, Laura got all dressed up for our lawyer meeting. My lawyer welcomed us into his conference room with a professional smile. He had all the documents ready in a thick folder. Laura didn't know it, but we'd prepped everything days ago, just waiting for her to make her move. "So, I understand you're seeking a divorce?" he asked, looking between us. Laura nodded, the picture of reluctance. "Unfortunately, yes. It's a difficult decision, but I think it's for the best." "And you're the one initiating this divorce, correct, Mrs. Sanders?" my lawyer asked, making a show of taking notes. "Yes," Laura confirmed, a hint of impatience in her voice. Let's get to the money part, her eyes seemed to say. I see, he said, opening the folder. Then let's discuss the terms as outlined in your prenuptial agreement. Laura's smile flickered. The prenup? Oh, that was just a formality. My lawyer raised an eyebrow. I'm afraid not, Mrs. Sanders. The prenuptial agreement you signed is a legally binding document. Well, yes, but Cade and I had an understanding, she said, turning to me with pleading eyes. Right, honey? I said nothing, just stared at her. My lawyer continued. According to the terms you both signed, since you're initiating the divorce, you'll receive no financial compensation, assets, or spousal support from Mr. Sanders. Laura laughed nervously. That can't be right. Furthermore, he continued, due to Section 7, the fraud provision. Fraud? Laura interrupted, her voice rising. What are you talking about? He slid a stack of papers across the table. We have extensive evidence of your intent to defraud Mr. Sanders, including text messages, emails, and witness statements confirming your plan to marry him solely for financial gain, then divorce him after 1 month. The color drained from Laura's face. She turned to me, panic in her eyes. Cade, this is crazy. You can't believe. There's also this, I said quietly, sliding my phone across the table. On it was a recording of her conversation with her mom from the night before, and he has no idea. The idiot really thinks I loved him. Mom, you were right. This was so easy. Laura stared at the phone, then at me, her mouth open in shock. You recorded me? You spied on me? That's legal in this state, my lawyer cut in. One-party consent. This isn't just about getting nothing, Laura, I said, my voice steady. According to the prenup you so happily signed, you actually owe me money for legal fees and damages. She looked like she might throw up. This can't be happening. Oh, it is, my lawyer said, turning to another page. And there's more. Your mother's involvement as a co-conspirator opens her up to potential legal action as well. Her eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time. Please, Cade, we can work this out. I made a mistake. A mistake? I laughed. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. You planned for months to destroy my life. Her desperation was obvious as she reached for my hand, but I pulled away. She'd wanted a divorce. Now she had it, and she was leaving with even less than she came with. My lawyer slid a settlement offer across the table. Sign away any claim to marital assets, cover my legal fees, and we wouldn't go after her or her mother for fraud. Her perfect mask cracked as she stared at the document, tears streaking her makeup. She tried to argue, but I shut it down. She had 24 hours. Take the deal or we'd go to court, and every shady thing she'd done would become public record. The confidence drained from her, replaced by real sobs. When my lawyer stepped out, she turned to me, pleading. But there was nothing left to say. She'd never loved me, just the lifestyle I could give her. Now she'd learn what it felt like to be played. The fallout from Laura's failed scam was brutal. She signed the settlement papers the next day, really had no choice unless she wanted her whole gold digger playbook to become public record. Her mom tried threatening legal action for the recordings but backed off real quick when my lawyer mentioned her own incriminating texts about her proven method that had worked on 2 previous husbands. Word got around fast. These things always do. I didn't even have to say anything. Laura's friends disappeared first. Brittany blocked her everywhere once she realized there'd be no divorce payday to celebrate. Apparently, she'd been planning to try the same scam with her boyfriend, using Laura's expertise as a guide. Megan actually reached out to me about a week after everything went down. I knew what they were doing was wrong, she texted. I should have said something. I'm really sorry, Cade. I appreciated her apology, but honestly, it was too little, too late. If she'd had any real conscience, she would have warned me before the wedding. Laura herself had to move back to her mom's place. She had 0 savings of her own. Why bother when she was about to cash in on mine, right? She tried calling me a few times, but I blocked her number. Whatever she had to say, I didn't want to hear it. The strangest part was how her social media went from blessed newlywed to complete silence overnight. Later, I heard through mutual friends that she'd been too humiliated to face anyone online. Her mom, Diane, tried damage control, telling people we'd had a mutual change of heart after the wedding. Nobody bought it, especially after Laura's ex-roommate from college, who apparently had also been scammed by Laura for rent money, got wind of what happened and started sharing her own stories. I sold the house about a month later, too many bad memories, moved to a different neighborhood across town, and tried to start fresh. The whole experience messed me up pretty bad when it came to trusting people. For a long time, I didn't date at all. Every compliment, every show of interest from a woman seemed suspicious. I kept thinking, what's their angle? What do they want from me? But about 3 months after everything went down, I was working on my laptop at this little coffee shop near my new place when my battery died. There was only one free outlet in the whole damn place, and someone was already sitting at the table next to it. Mind if I share your outlet? I asked, expecting to be told to get lost. She looked up from her book and smiled. Only if you share your Wi-Fi password too. Mine's not working. That was Kate, completely different from Laura in every way. A kindergarten teacher who drove a beat-up Honda and lived in a tiny apartment with 2 rescue cats. On our first date, she insisted on splitting the bill, nearly wrestling me for the check. I can pay for my own pasta. She laughed. I'm not looking for a sugar daddy. After Laura, those were the most beautiful words I'd ever heard. It took time to let my guard down. I kept waiting for the mask to slip, for Kate to reveal some hidden agenda, but there was never anything to find. She was just real. The kind of person who would spend her last $20 on food for a homeless guy outside the grocery store. I finally told her the whole Laura story about 3 months in. I expected her to think I was paranoid or damaged goods. Instead, she just held my hand and said, "She didn't deserve you. And not all women are like that." We've been together 8 months now. Last week, Kate's car broke down completely. The repair bill was more than the car was worth. I offered to help her buy a new one. "Absolutely not," she said firmly. "I appreciate it, but I've been saving up. I'll get a used one I can afford." 2 days later, I came home to find her excitedly showing me pictures of a 10-year-old Toyota she'd bought with her savings. It had over 100,000 miles and a slightly dented fender. "Isn't she beautiful?" Kate beamed, proudly showing off her sensible, affordable car. I realized that there are still good people out there, people who want to build something real with you, not just take what you have. And yeah, that's where I am now, Reddit. Still a work in progress, still healing, but finally looking forward instead of back. And if there's one thing I've learned from this whole mess, it's that there are good people out there. You just have to be smart about finding them.